Welcome to What You Need to Grow, the podcast where entrepreneurs discover the inspiration and perspective shifts that fuel both personal and business growth. Each week, certified professional coach Jennie Bellinger brings you powerful conversations with thought leaders, subject matter experts, and innovative company leaders who share their stories of growth and the tools that made it possible. From fresh insights that expand your vision to resources you can explore on your own journey, every episode is designed to help you grow your knowledge, grow your vision, and grow your business. Now, here's your host, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome to another episode of What You Need to Grow. I am your host, Jennie Bellinger, and this show is all about the intersection of personal growth and business growth, because we know that, well, at least the smart entrepreneurs know that your business is never going to outgrow your personal growth. And today's guest I have with me is Michaela Gaffen-Stone. She's a behavior expert, master nutrition coach, human design strategist, and professional life untangler. Oh my God, I love that. She helps successful women uncover the hidden patterns secretly sabotaging their next level. Blending science, intuition, and strategy, Michaela helps women stop chasing success and start becoming the badass version ready to receive it. Welcome to the show, Michaela.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm absolutely thrilled.
Oh my gosh. I love to share with the audience, the What You Need to Grow experts here, how I met my guest. And in this case, you and I were both on a podcast event, and you came on and said something that made me go, her. I want her as a guest. Her. And it was so fabulous because your introduction talked about something about the witchy ways or witchy women. And I was like, sold. I'm in. Let's go. Let's have that talk, because that is fascinating. So you have a lot going on there, master nutrition coach and a human design and the witchy woo-woo funness. How did you become this amazing human that you are now?
So I think I'll give you a quick bio because then it'll
Sure.
give you a flavor, if you will. So I've been moving since I was 6 months old. I've lived in 8 countries so far, as defined by 3 years or more in any one country, but moving within those countries as well. So since I've been in the US, for example, I've lived in 2 states and visited 33, and I've been here since 2014. So
Wow.
that's pandemic years as well.
Yeah.
So given that lifestyle, I have lived in different countries as an adult as well as a kid. And each country, I kind of needed to do something different, to show up differently. And I wanted to learn different things. So I'm always learning, evolving. So I've done tropical diseases nursing, which I can tell you was epic. So much fun. You never meet a boring person, right? Because they have been somewhere interesting to get what they got. That's a whole other topic.
Uh-huh.
And my specialty within that specialty was leprosy, which is also a whole other topic. But
oh, wow.
so I left London with that qualification and went to Bangladesh, as one does, and went for 6 months, stayed for 3 years. So I've kind of moved around a lot like that. And I develop as I go, obviously, as you hope you do. And I just learned so much about the world, the cultures. I don't know, it all combined to make me interested in a lot of things and to develop into the me that I am now.
Oh, I love that. I was recently speaking to a gal about women who are, what was it? Oh, I forget what she called it, but it was, polygenius or poly something, like they just have all of these wonderful skills in different areas. And, so many of us are told to niche down into just
That annoys the hell out of me.
one. And I'm like,
I got to tell you, the niche down thing is like, we are like diamonds.
mm-hmm.
There are facets. If you look at a different facet, it shines differently. Why would you pretend you only have one?
Yeah.
Like, how can you do that? And the person you want to work with, they have more than one facet. So are you truly that unilateral that you just appeal to one little bit? Like that's why I'm a professional life untangler. Like I can do a whole bunch of different things. That's pretty much the process. But, what are you bringing?
Right.
Let's look at you're a human, so let's look at that. It's like
Yeah.
this niche down thing. I think it's very masculine. It's a very male linear A to B to C to D. You follow one path. Women aren't like that. We go all over the place. We're a plate of spaghetti. You've got to like you're here and you're there and they're all correct.
Right. No, I can definitely see how that would be because um so many men that I know or more masculine women, which I sometimes can fit into that, it's very easy for me to step into my masculine. Um can be very much compartmentalized one thing, and then the idea of someone being two or more. Now, all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I can see how some people would be like, oh, no, I can't do that. And it's like, no, seriously, you recognize that your wife is a wife and a friend and a mother, like,
Yeah.
and a businesswoman or and a professional, like all the ands. She fits in 10 different boxes, and frankly, so do guys. They are partner, spouse, friend, father, businessman, or professional. They also, but they're so used to just, no, you have to neatly fit in one little box. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh,
it's a
yeah,
bit
good
like
luck.
it's the factory worker mentality of, I do rivets or I fold this thing over and that's my task. It's that kind of thinking put into corporate. Well, why? No, totally step out of that, especially for a woman. We don't think that way. We're more emotional and intuitive. And I would argue every single person on the planet is intuitive to some degree or another. And for women, get in touch with that inner voice that tells you really what's true. All the how-tos, follow my seven-step process to yada yada. Logic is also quite masculine, and I'm not saying women don't have it, but bear with me for a minute.
Sure.
So you can have a logical path, right? One step in front of the other, and they all make sense and they all line up neatly, and it looks really cool. And that's wonderful. But perhaps your information wasn't quite right, or you were not working with your intuition. And so that beautiful path takes you to the swamp instead of the beach. It's still a perfect path. It just didn't take you where you wanted to go.
Right. It's still water,
So
but not the water you wanted.
it's not what you were looking for, right? And so many of us end up following somebody else's steps, that perfect path that may have taken them where they wanted to go, but it didn't do it for you because it's not your path, right? So
Mm,
we really need to step out of this. I'm going to follow everybody else and do it their way and actually spread your wings a little, like what else is possible?
yeah. Well, it's funny because as we're talking about this, the visual that's in my head is, people are trying to put us into a box, but we're all like octopus. We
Yes.
have eight different arms trying to climb into all the other boxes that also fit us. But then, we squirm out through that tiny little hole like octopi can do and go,
And
no,
the
no, no, I'm going to
octopus
be over here. And, you
And
know,
the octopus is hella smart.
yeah.
So, I like that comparison. That's actually a really good one.
Download that. There you
Uh-huh.
go. The universal visual for you there. Feel free to take it because it's yours, not mine.
And the octopus also, it changes to suit its environment,
Yeah.
whether it's shape, color, the octopus can sort of adapt, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't necessarily blend in. I mean, have you seen those memes where the octopus punches a fish because it's why not? Like I'm really liking the octopus. This is a
Yeah.
good one.
Go for it. That I do not identify with octopus, but it makes perfect sense in this capacity.
I'm
So
kind of
feel
going for it
free.
right now. Go for it
Yeah.
right now. That's a good one.
I love it. So now with what you're doing, a professional life untangler, as we heard in your bio, um, what is it that you're working with your clients on? Like how are they finding you and what do you get to do with these people? Because it sounds like you're probably doing a lot of different things.
I am. Quite often I'll find somebody or they'll find me through human design. Like I
Mm.
start off doing their human design and we get into some depth and then maybe straight away they want to keep working. Or sometimes they'll come back later and say, "Hey, I got this problem. Can you help me with it?" And an example I can give you, because what I want to point out is people usually come not with the problem. They think they do. But what they come with is either the symptom or the thing that they think is the solution, neither of which are the problem. So, an example would be this woman that came to me having had her human design done, and she said, "Can you help me with time management?" And I thought that is a unusual request, but okay, let's play with it. What have we got? And so sure, yeah, I can help you with it, but let's have a look at what you need. And this woman's self-employed. She's got a ghostwriting company, basically. She's a ghostwriter for people, and she's pretty busy. So I was curious, what are we doing here? And she said, "Well, I need to fit more work in." Now we're getting somewhere. Why do we need to fit more work in? Well, I want to make more money. Oh, let's talk about the money. So we immediately got off the time management, which was not the problem. She thought it was the solution. And we spent 3 months because this ran deep, but she had some seriously dysfunctional stories about money and came from her childhood, her culture, her upbringing, and so on. And as we identified and worked through those, she discovered that she actually was afraid of money and she hid it from herself. Like she would forget subscriptions and things. She had $1,500 worth of monthly subscriptions that she forgot about. So, okay, let's start getting rid of those, shall we? And she kept one. And the reason she was going for the subscriptions, they were all VIP things, and it made her feel special. And then she'd forget about it. And she would go gambling, and she didn't know how much money she gambled. Like she wasn't keeping track because she was afraid of what the answers would be. So
Mm.
I got her to work through some stuff and to see her numbers, to actually face what she was afraid of. It took 3 months because, like I said, there was a lot of layers to this. But at the end of the 3 months, she said, "Hey, you know what? Not only do I not need time management, I have more time now and I'm going traveling because I have more money. Thanks." And off she toddled, right? Having the best time. So that was an untangling, if ever there was one. She thought
Yeah.
she needed time management. And if I'd given her time management, that would have been a gross disservice because that wasn't her problem.
Oh, I love that because I mean, how many times do we go down that route where we think we know what we need or we think we know what the issue is, right? And then I mean, I can tell you the number of conversations I've had with my own coach to be like, "Hey, I need da 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 da." And she's like, "Okay, let's talk about that." And then, an hour later, "Oh, no, no, no."
Uh-huh.
This is the real issue, or this is what, right? That that makes so much sense. And to go back into the conversation about all the different things, right? Because, you know, I am out there in the world as a podcast monetization coach, and there are people who know that I used to be a business coach, right? And they're like, "Well, don't you miss business coaching?" And I was like, I am still a business coach. And they're like,
Uh-huh.
"What do you mean?" And I went, podcast monetization is just how I get in the door. That's my way in, just like you have human design, right? That's
Right.
my foot in the door to have a conversation with somebody, because oftentimes the reason their podcast isn't monetizing is because they don't have it properly connected to their business. And then we get to have a business coaching conversation. I get to help them with their offer and I get to help them with like all the things, right? So I still get to business coach.
Oh yeah. And it's a thing of beauty
Right.
because the person thinks, okay, I'm coming with a solution. Because we're all told that, right? Don't bring me
Mhm.
problems, bring me solutions. Like, yeah, because I'm a freaking rocket scientist and I can do that. But, you know, So we think, okay, so I'm not getting this result, therefore that's the problem,
Right.
right? Like for this woman, I don't feel like I have enough money, therefore I need to fit more work in.
Yeah.
Absolutely logical, beautiful, logical path. Took her straight to a swamp.
Right.
I got her to the beach.
That is
Like,
literally, right? Right.
literally.
Literally.
That was exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And she was stuck at the swamp thinking, well, this is where I am. I need one of those boats to get through the swamp. No, you don't have to be in the swamp. Let's leave
Yeah.
that thing and,
Yeah.
go where you want to go. But it's not
That's
a logical path because what got you there wasn't logical, right? Like the problem itself isn't logical. It is rooted in your upbringing, but it's not logical.
yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because as you were describing that in my head, I was like, oh, well, now I thought you were gonna go one way and you ended up going this way, like,
Exactly.
right. Because in my head, I was like, oh, she's working a lot and not making enough money. So obviously she needs to charge more money. Because if you've hit
Yeah.
your upward limit of how much time you can work, then time to start charging more because obviously people are finding value, right?
100%.
Right.
That is what I would expect another coach to say. I would
Yeah.
expect to hear that.
Yeah.
I have heard that, right? Like, oh, well, you're not charging enough. You
Right.
shouldn't be working as much as you do. Okay, but in this case, it wasn't the problem for her.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And that
but
wouldn't have worked because she had her stuff around money. And
exactly.
so the
So she
idea
could
of
have
charging
doubled her
more.
time. No, she could have doubled her time or doubled her money or done both, and she would still be perceptually broke, right? She's thinking she doesn't have money. She actually had plenty, and she was leaking a ton. But, she just
Yeah.
didn't have a grasp on it. She didn't know it. She'd been married 30 years at this point, and her husband had no idea how much money she had. But then he wouldn't because neither did she.
Right.
And they never had those conversations, but they're both getting to this point of, well, you're going to have that retirement conversation soon. So you kind of need to know how much you've got so you know where
Yeah.
it's coming from.
Yeah.
Like, what are the next steps? You kind of do need to get to that conversation to see if you're in a place where you want to do that.
Right. Oh
But
my
if
goodness.
you're hiding money, how are you ever going to get to that conversation? She could be working at 90 and thinking she's broke and,
Yeah.
she's sitting on a ton of money under the mattress,
Right. Exactly. Well,
metaphorically.
I was gonna say, and it also seems like not only was she hiding it, but also kind of leaking it out of little tiny
Oh, yeah.
holes in the bucket that she didn't even know existed.
Yeah, absolutely. For a moment's gratification at being considered a VIP, right?
Yeah.
And getting that, oh, hey, you're so special. You signed up for this thing. So she got that. So that's feel good, but it's as temporary as eating a chocolate.
Mm.
It's like, gone.
Yeah.
But now your waistline's kind of increasing. If that's not a problem, that's okay. But it's like it's all a trade-off, right? But the key was spotting the pattern and picking up on the language that she was using specifically. I want to hear exactly the words you use because that tells me what's really going on, not what you think you're telling me. So
Right.
I like to listen within the listening, if you will. And it involves a lot of untangling. Like I sometimes think I should get one of those Sherlock Holmes hats, the deer stalker, and uh, and do my little sleuthing because that's how I like to approach it. We have these stories that weave the most intricate fabrics that we then buy into as being our reality and saying, well, okay, this is where I am, so I'm kind of stuck, and somebody needs to fix this fabric. But you didn't look at all the stuff that built it. You got to
Mm.
go look, pull the curtain back, literally the fabric, pull it back and have a look at, well, how did you get there? How are you going to get out of that so that you don't get back into it? So if I'd fixed her time management, she'd still be in the problem. Like it wouldn't have gone away, even if it was alleviated for a little bit of time.
Right.
It's not fixed.
Yeah. Oh,
So I like to unravel it so that you don't have to do it again.
yeah. And
One and done.
so that is so fascinating because in that conversation, then that's not necessarily that somebody's going to be able to identify themselves because, as my friend Virginia and I talk about it, um, when you're inside the jar, you can't read the label,
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
you know? And so you've got to have that outside perspective of somebody who's asking the right questions, listening to the responses, which it sounds like you actually do, instead of jumping ahead and going, oh, well, here's what you really need.
Yeah.
Because,
No, that's that's like putting a band-aid on an amputated leg. It's not going to work very well, you know. And people don't listen. This is a
yeah,
bugbear of mine, is people don't really listen to what the other person's saying. They're just waiting for you to stop talking so they can give you a response. And that's seriously dysfunctional, bloody annoying. And all told, don't do it. If just don't pretend you're listening if you're not going to listen. If you're just going to push your solution no matter what the problem, then okay, you do you, but know that those results aren't going to be very good for very long. And you just on to the next person to sell it to them. I can't stand that kind of transactional approach. I'm not here for that. Like, I really, really do want to make a difference, but one that that person can then go and play with themselves. They have the tools now,
yeah,
and you can go and keep progressing from there. How else can you use the tools you just learned?
yeah,
Because I'm very transparent with all the things I'm coming up with and how I got there. I want the person I'm working with to understand why we're doing what we're doing and how we got there so that they can then use this information. It's a life tool. So, it has more impact than just that one situation.
right.
You can, as they say in behavior analysis, you can generalize it to other situations where it also works.
Yeah. No, and that's such an important piece for people to understand that, when you learn that tool, you can utilize it in different parts of life. The one of the things that I've utilized with my clients is, you use human design, I use DISC, right? I'm
Okay.
getting to know human design, but there's a lot more to it than DISC. DISC is
There's a
simple,
lot.
right? DISC is super simple. I say that and still went through weeks of training to get it,
Mhm.
right? It's simple. Weeks of training to get there, right? But the 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 understanding of how you're showing up in the world, right? Regardless of whether it's human design or DISC or Enneagram or Myers-Briggs or whatever, when you study it, can then help you understand not how to just get better in your business, but you can turn around and use those things in your personal life.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
right. So you leverage human design as one of your tools in your coaching toolbox. What got you into human design?
Ah, actually, it's kind of a fun story. I was working with a woman who is very technically inclined, and I am not. And so that was a good match. And we were working on this website, and I wanted some complex stuff done, I guess. Like, again, I'm not techie, so I don't know. But the way we were working together, it wasn't smooth. It was kind of chunky. And she was getting visibly frustrated. And I could see her point. And one day she said to me, "Do you have your human design chart?" And I kind of sat back and looked at her. Do I what now? And she said, "Oh, come on, you must have heard of human design." And I said, Isn't that a black hole you throw money in? Like, you realize I do science, right? Like a little bit cocky. You realize I do science, right? It's embarrassing, but I got to admit it. And she said, "Yeah, yeah, but can you just get your chart done?" So I thought, well, respect her. She's an intelligent woman. I trust her. Okay, let me see what this thing is. So she told me how to go do it. I got my chart done and I looked at this thing and I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is, but okay. I gave it to her. And then being a behavior analyst, I'm kind of rooted to watching her response, right? I want to see what she's doing. And all these emotions flitted across her beautifully transparent face. And I was fascinated. And then it dropped in. She kind of went, "Oh, got it. Okay, okay." And I thought, okay, now you color me interested. What's happening now? And she changed a few things about how we work together. Timing, sort of scope of requirements in a given time frame, that kind of thing. And suddenly things were going so much more smoothly. And I was like, okay, now you got me, girl. Where are we going? Where is this thing? How do I find out about this? And I dove down that rabbit hole head first. And I started, testing on my husband, my mom, my kids, and I'm testing it all over the place and finding it to be accurate. And
Right.
now I'm really hooked, and I'm just like, okay, I need to know all the things. Tell me all the things. And I dove in and I've been diving ever since. And when people do throw that sciencey thing at me, because I have 4 degrees, right?
Yeah.
And it's very kind of sciencey background.
Uh-huh.
And when people say, well, how can you do all this woo stuff and you're sciencey? Oh, yeah, but this is living science. I tell you what's in your human design. I interpret it for you. You put your white coat on and go test it. Like, you
Yeah.
don't listen to what I'm telling you. That doesn't mean anything. You have to experience is it true for you? Like
Yeah.
the Buddha said, if you test it and you find it to be good for you, then take it and use it. So I've
Mm.
been doing that ever since, and it has not steered me wrong. So and I find it saves so much time in figuring out how to approach a person, how much information to give at one time, in what kind of format. If you're a manifester, I'm gonna fire hose the hell out of you. I'm just gonna throw it all at you. If you're a reflector, I'm going to do a lot of let's just clean the space first and let's tread carefully here and what stage are you at right now? And there's a lot of tentative work to do before you get jumping in. And so on and so forth. It's different. And then you get into the nuances of the person's chart, and that's a whole other thing. Are you creative where you need downtime in order to be inspired? Or does doing something inspire you? Like how do you function? And when I've got
Mm.
all that information, well, you can imagine how fast it is to jump to the rest, which is why the woman with the money issue, for example, only took 3 months.
Mm.
Could have
Okay.
been a lot longer.
Yeah. Well, it helps when you have that understanding of how they're showing up in the world,
Yeah.
right? And that assessment, whatever it may be, helps give you a jumping point instead of treating everybody the same. Because
Oh, yeah.
one thing I've learned in the I have not dove down the human design rabbit hole head first, but I've got a foot in the hole. Well, how about that? I know just enough to know that I could dive down that rabbit hole if not careful. But so for me, what I've learned is me as a manifesting generator does not make me like every other manifesting generator out there.
No, it does
There's
not.
different flavors of manifesting generators, and that's something that was a recent aha moment to me because just like I know not every high I is the same in disc because
Right.
it depends on the rest of the recipe for the D and the S and the C. How are all those things in? Because you can't treat all high I's the same. Because some of them are high I,
Correct.
high D, some of them are high I, high S, some of them are high I, high C, which is really unusual, but they exist. Right? So you have to have that understanding of that. And that's I think the benefit of knowing an assessment, right? Because an assessment tells somebody about themselves.
Well, human design is done on your birth data. So,
Right.
I mean, it's easy in that it doesn't change.
Right.
So, for example, I've done Enneagram a number of times and I get a different answer every time because it depends on the day when I'm
Yeah.
answering those questions.
Yeah.
I always answer them honestly, but my perspective may be different
Yeah.
depending on where I'm at. So I don't get the same results with Enneagram.
Yeah.
And I've actually come across a few people that have said the same thing. So I'm like, okay, good. It's not just me. But where it's your birth data, well, it
Right.
is what it is. So,
Yeah.
I have had people say, well, can I change my design? No,
No.
but you also don't need to. You're perfectly designed. The thing
Yeah.
is, we are all perfectly designed, and society tells us we're wrong. So, all those places where you were told, oh, you're too much, you're too loud, excuse me, you're too this, you're too that, you don't do enough of this, you don't try hard, whatever the stories are, first of all, it reflects the person talking, not you. And that's an important thing to know. It's their lens. They have the crap on their lens, you don't. But we take it on as kids, like, oh, this must be true because they wouldn't have said it otherwise. We have a life understanding of about an inch, right? Like we don't have a very good yardstick.
Yeah.
So we take all that in and we assume it's true and we build our adult selves on that foundation.
Mm.
So if you're a gifted storyteller, but you were accused of being a daydreamer and not focusing and not living up to your potential as a kid, you're always going to feel like you're lacking. And when you want to tell a story, you have this thing coming over the top of, but nobody's going to want to hear me. Nobody wants to listen to what I have to say. I'll just stay quiet over here, right? And you wonder why you feel miserable. Well, yeah, because you're carrying this stuff that somebody else gave you. It was never yours, but it
Right.
feels like it because you're kind of used to carrying it. So, what I love about human design is it tells you what's right about you. And wherever that's been covered, that's a fantastic place to start uncovering. Whose
Mm.
voice is that you hear? Because it's not yours. Who told you those things? You don't have to be mad at them. You just need to. What I tend to do, I'm very visual. So I like to give you a seat next to you, and you sit that voice in that seat, wrap it up in duct tape, tell it to shut up, and then you get on with your own voice, right? And we can go into as much depth as you want to shut
Yeah.
that voice up, but whatever it takes, get it out of the way so that you can look at now who are you? I once did a woman's human design. She was in her 70s and she burst into tears. And so I kind of waited because it's not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
And she burst into tears and she said, you've just told me that I am gifted in something that I've always been told I was wrong for. And she went and wrote a book because that was something she'd always wanted to do. And people had told her that, you're not talented, you can't write, like you don't have anything to say, etc., etc. And she'd actually lived an extraordinary life and she had a lot to say. So
Mm.
yeah, she went and wrote a book because she realized she could. So
Oh, that's
that's the power of
beautiful.
human design. That's what I love about human design is you can take it, you put your white coat on, you go play with it.
Yeah, go test it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because my,
100%.
yeah, I also come from that scientific background. I was literally a middle school science teacher. I taught, science and I come from a medical background. My father's a retired physician, so I grew up in the sciences. And so when
Right.
I was first introduced to human design, I was like, oh, great. This is just like astrology, like, uh-huh, yeah, right. And now I'm like, and the first time I had it read for me, I was like, wait, what? Tell
What
me.
witchcraft is
Yeah,
this?
exactly. Like, how did you know? And the gal who ran my human design also ran my fiance's human design at the same time. And then she did the comparison chart for the two of us. And it was fascinating because not only, did she was she able to share some things about him that she had no way of knowing, that I'm like, oh my God, that's him. Yes. How do you know that? Like,
Right?
how does that come from knowing when and where he was born? That's crazy. But it worked. It was right. And, one of the really interesting things that came out of that, you know, two chart comparison reading, and I don't know what they call them, so I probably just totally F that up completely. But was it
No.
was it was so interesting because um she was like, "Oh yeah, you two are so unbelievably made for each other that for the first time that I've ever seen this, you two literally complete each other's charts.
Oh,
Like
cool.
very Jerry Maguire, but like but she's like, but in the most complimentary way. You are each complete human beings, but you complete each other together too. And I was like, that's really fucking cool to know.
I understand what you just said beautifully. And here's something else. Your chart changes, like how your gates complete and so on, the channels.
Uh-huh.
It changes depending on whose company you're in. So, when
Mm,
you can think of a person and you say, whenever that person is with this group of people, they behave so differently. I don't understand what comes over them, right? We all have that in the background
yeah,
somewhere. Somebody's either said it about you or you've said it about somebody else.
yeah.
Well, the answer is you are correct. Something does change for them, and it is the environment they're in, but human design is what's happening. It's shifting how they show up quite literally. And if you have someone who's a reflector, that is going to be dramatic. Reflectors are amazing human beings, 1% of the population, and they can be anything they want to be. Like a famous reflector to consider is Sandra Bullock, right?
Oh, okay.
When she acts, she is the person she's acting. Like
Yeah.
she's 100%, she is on point. And her personal life is a disaster. Why? Because, first of all, a reflector is literally, as the name suggests, they're like a mirror. Think magnifying mirror. So the environment is reflected by this person, the health of the environment. They're like the canary in the coal mine. But the type of person drawn to a reflector romantically, and, don't shoot the messenger, but here we go, typically is a narcissist
Mm,
because they're seeing themselves in the mirror, which is the very definition of narcissus, right? The
yeah.
story of.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of people they attract. So they end up with fairly shitty relationships quite often because they cannot sort of determine how they are with that other person accurately. Things change too much for a reflector. For people who are wondering, what is she talking about? A reflector has no definition. None of their centers are defined, which means everything is open to influence. You absorb other people's energy from those centers and you amplify it. So if somebody else is having high emotions, for example, or they're on a roller coaster, your emotional center is open. So you're receiving all of that and amplifying it. It feels like yours, but it's not yours, it's theirs. Now, if you make a decision from somebody else's emotions, it is typically not going to go well for you, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
There's so much to unpack with human design that you could dive down it for hours, and I do. That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. I have fun with it. I love it. Love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Well, and I know there's so much more that we could discuss, but one of the things I wanted to bring, seriously, like this is not going to be the end of our conversation, Michaela, for sure. One of the things I wanted to bring up is that you also do a number of summits throughout the year, and you have them placed very specifically quarterly throughout the year. And I love the placement of these. And the next one that is coming out after this episode is happening is going to be the Aligned as Fuck Summit. Tell
Yes.
me about that.
So there is a progression with these summits, and I think I need to point that out so that people
Yeah.
sort of get the idea of what? Where did that come from? So the very first summit for this year was at Spring Equinox, and it was called Self-Care for Witches, Aligned Living for Women Who Refuse to be Controlled. So that's the first salvo across the bows, right?
Hmm.
That gives you an idea of where we're going. The next summit after that, which is as we are recording about to come out, but by the time this episode's released, it's done already. The
Yeah.
next one is Witches Rage, Fury as Fuel for Aligned Living. And I have 22 speakers for that one. A lot of people got very excited about the Witches Rage stuff. And this came out before after the Epstein files, but before the Rape Academy became known. And
Mm.
just kind of lit everybody, fire under everybody's ass, basically. I have 21 women and one very brave male in this summit. I'm really excited about it. And so, where do you go from those two summits but to being as aligned as fuck? So, I'm also bringing in some really powerful speakers for this who have strong opinions on what it is to be aligned, how to get there, what their journey looked like, and how you can do it too. And I'm all about bringing forward as much possibility as possible for other people. That was a terrible sentence, but anyway, enough as much as possible for other people to see and be inspired by, so they can say, "Oh, I can do that," or
Mm.
"Oh, hadn't thought of that. Let me try that," or "Holy smokes, are you kidding me? This person had a similar experience." Like, and they overcame it. Right? Like, there's always the follow on. It's not let's all sit around and bitch, but okay, and what do we do next?
Yeah.
So, as a woman, you're furious right now. You ought to be. The patriarchy's been screwing us over for centuries. So, and the division that it's sown between men and women, absolutely ludicrous, worse than ludicrous. It's damaging
Yeah.
both parties, right? So, I'm not here for that. Okay, we can certainly complain about it, and absolutely justifiably so. And what are you going to do with all that fuel you have? Because rage is fuel.
Yeah, it
We're
is.
taught as kids that it's not acceptable to be angry because it could be, defiance, or girls don't get angry.
Right. Or
Bull,
it can be destructive.
bull,
Right.
but you told you can't do that. Well, not only can you, but you must. Like, men are told as kids, don't cry, girls cry. Well, okay, it's terrible to be a girl is one question, but another
Right.
one is, what do you mean boys don't cry? All humans have all human emotions. So to tell one group that they cannot express an
Right.
emotion is to damage that group. And we have been, as a society, systematically damaging both groups. This is not okay. So yeah, be mad about it.
Yeah.
And what's the action you're going to take?
Yeah.
That's what the summit's about.
And
What are you
it's
going to do with that mess?
yeah, and it's got to be aligned action, right? It's got to be
Oh yeah.
aligned with you. I saw this wonderful, wonderful um video on Facebook a few weeks ago about, hey, all of us who are here taking action, right, in the direction that we want to go. We can't be like shooting each other's boats because we're all on the same river, right? We're
Oh,
all in the same body of water trying to get our society to a different place, right? But the thing is there's a bunch of different boats because we all can't fit in the same boat and we all can't be aligned. So how about we just cheer each other on and go, yeah, you go LGBTQ boat, and yeah, you go witchy boat, and yeah, you go. You know what I
you
mean?
know,
Like all of these
it
different ways of getting there are valid. And
it's confused me for some time why one group of humans, or even a human, considers that they are either right or responsible for hating on another group for
mm,
any reason. Like, I am not religious at all. And I do not want somebody shoving their religion down my face. Thank you. But you do you,
right,
right? Like, I'm not going to give you a hard time because of your religion. I don't believe it, but I don't have to. And
right,
I'm not LGBTQIA plus two spirit, etc., etc. I'm not, but I
right,
100% acknowledge that you can fully be who you are. How would I tell you otherwise? Like, that's
right.
not right. You
Yeah,
can't do that. It just blows my mind that people are so disconnected from being human that they want to pick on another group of people and say, well, you can't be who you are. Like, why?
right.
How distracted is that?
Yeah,
That's the divide and conquer thing in action right there.
yeah,
You're so busy
absolutely.
telling other people they can't exist how they are that you're missing everything that's being done to you.
Yeah,
You're missing the point entirely.
exactly, exactly. Well, But now that I've taken us off track, let's get us back on track. So you have the Aligned as Fuck Summit coming up in fall equinox, September of 2026. And for the What You Need to Grow listener, you guys know by now, if you would like to experience one of Michaela's summits, just go to whatyouneedtogrow.com and go into the gift vault. And next to her video here, next to her episode, we're going to have the link to her upcoming summits. So, and a coupon code because Michaela, you have a special gift for people who are listening to the summit and they're like, or sorry, listening to this episode and they want to come to your summit because they feel very aligned as fuck with you.
Woot. Well, the gift is I'd like to offer you a VIP pass for the summit so that you can keep access to everything that's there. You don't just have like 1 week of freebie and then done. You can actually listen to all of the people that are talking and get what's being put out there. And it will be valuable, I assure you, because that's what I'm here to do. And as a side note, I just want to point out too that it occurred to me we're using the word aligned a lot.
Uh-huh.
And one of the reasons I use it a lot is because I wrote a book called Aligned and Unapologetic. And it's a human design guidebook.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Which literally, honestly, for the listener, I had forgotten to mention this before, so Jenny did not know about this, but
Yes.
yeah, aligned and unapologetic. So hence aligned being an important word. Unapologetic too, actually.
Right? Okay. Well, the other thing we're going to have to do then is make sure we put the link where people can get their copy of that book. So is that something that's out on Amazon or do you have it on your website?
It's on Amazon and
Okay.
it is currently in 4 languages. It's about to be in 6. So I'm pretty excited
Fantastic.
about that.
Well, I will tell you, this podcast is only in English because, as I mentioned before, I am a typical American who speaks only 5 languages: American, Canadian, British, South African, and Australian. So
I speak all of those too.
right? Isn't that weird? No, but I want to make sure that anybody who's interested in getting more info about their human design and they like how you are approaching it, that they can grab your book so that way they can take a look at their own human design and go through that with your guidebook. That's fan freaking tastic.
And I can mention you can get your chart done for free on my website if you would like,
Nice.
which is witchyshitbydesign.com.
I love it. All right. And so, of course, you guys, you don't have to worry about how do I spell that? Where is it? Because go to whatyouneedtogrow.com, click in the gift vault. Right there next to Michaela's episode is going to be your free human design chart on her website. You can go purchase her book so you can go through. And then also, of course, grab your VIP ticket to one of her upcoming summits. So if you listen to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed the Aligned as Fuck Summit in September of 2026, it's okay. My guess is she's going to have more because she loves doing them. So,
I do. I am having the best time. I am so aligned with it.
oh,
I'm learning something all the time from the most incredible speakers.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
So the range is vast.
I feel you on that one. I have held 6 of my own summits with associated with my first podcast, Badass Direct Sales Mastery, and those summits were so pivotal in some of my own growth. And that's because I got to sit there and I heard from every single speaker because I interviewed every single one of them.
Me too.
So
Yep.
so I learned things and was able to implement and really build these amazing relationships with these brilliant human beings who have now become some of my mentors and best friends in business. And it's just been absolutely phenomenal. And I've helped them find clients and they've helped me find clients. And it's just this juicy, wonderful relationship. But all right, we do need to wrap this up, Michaela. So, Michaela, what would you like to leave the What You Need to Grow listener with today? What's the last thought you have for them right now?
One of my favorite questions to ask, especially when feeling stuck, is what else is possible? And it might sound like a very simple question, but seriously, it doesn't have to be yes or no to any given situation, even if somebody, especially if somebody tells you it's yes or no. Now, what else is possible? And then maybe choose that.
I love that. That is like full body tingles right now. I'm getting all the goosebumps because I literally had that experience this morning of somebody who was like, well, what about this or this? And I'm like, and what about this other thing? Because I come from a world of yes and. So I
Uh-huh.
love that, Michaela. That is fantastic. And of course, I'm going to start by not only expressing, but feeling gratitude for you being here today. And because I know that there are some people out there listening to this right now who just had some major aha moments themselves. And I'm so excited. And I really hope that they also reach out to you to let you know that they enjoyed today's episode and really got something from it and maybe take the next step with you if that's aligned as fuck for them.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
I love it. And of
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Oh, you are so very welcome, Michaela. I appreciate you. And of course, what you need to grow, listener. I don't have a great name for them yet. I need you guys to give me some ideas. What do you guys want to be called? The growers? I don't know. We'll see. That sounds kind of weird in a lot of different ways. So
Of
maybe not
course.
that one.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
What else is possible?
Ah, that is so great. All right. But you guys know, of course, you need to stay tuned. Make sure you are following the podcast because you never know what you're going to need to grow.
Thank you for listening to What You Need to Grow. Be sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode. Want updates straight to your inbox? Sign up at whatyouneedtogrow.com and you'll get notified each time a new episode goes live. Here's to your growth. This has been What You Need to Grow with Jennie Bellinger.